Hello everyone, Annette Ornelas here, Southwind Designs. Today is clue number 8 for our May Mystery Quilt Along. And I'm going to wait a little bit for the Facebook Live to get somebody. Hello Glenda, how are you? Hey Tammy. Hey Wendy. So, hi Denise. Clue number 8 today for the May Mystery Quilt Along. We are getting really close to the end. Hey Rhonda. Hi Wendy. So I have some things prepared for you that are actually sewn already. Hey Ann. I know we're all ready to put it together, but I also am trying to work my iPad so I can show you how to actually do some of the top stitching. So hopefully that works good. Thanks Marianne. Hey Kathy and Linda. So this is May Mystery Quilt Along, clue number 8. And yay, Sherry, you made it for the live clue. That's great. So let me turn this around since some of you are here, and I'm going to show you or share with you, hey Nancy, share with you some of my thoughts on the thread to use. And Anne, you're back, yay. Yes, you're here. So let me turn this around so I won't be able to see your comments, but you can see what I'm doing. So, all right, so here are some of the threads that we talked about last time. And I was asked on the Southwind Inspirations what weight thread to use. So I can use the 50 weight, which is your regular sewing thread for most anything, and you can use it for top stitching as well. I like the Aurifil thread because it's 2-ply, and so it's just nice and thin, and it kind of melts into your fabrics. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm not outside the picture again. But anyway, I wanted to show you on the bottom of that spool, you can see the weight. It says 50/2, which means 50 weight 2-ply. Okay, so this is an Aurifil. This is a regular thread for sewing, but you can also use it for top stitching. And then here is a Metler that is also a 50 weight, and I believe Metler might be 3-ply. It's just slightly, it feels a little bit thicker to me than does the Aurifil. That's 50 weight, and that's also fine. This is also 50 weight, and this is their new casing, also 50 weight. Now, it used to have green, and maybe they still do. That is the 60 weight, so that is a little bit thinner. I prefer the 60 weight for top stitching, but I realize that not everybody wants to go crazy on thread and buy all different kind of threads in every color. So the 50 weight does work, but it's a little more visible. This is also an embroidery weight thread. Okay, so let me put all this here. And I showed you the needles I'm using, the Schmetz quilting needles. I use the 7511 9014 combo pack a lot. And the thinner needles, I usually use them for piecing, and then the thicker ones, the 9014, I use them for quilting. But I also use both of them for top stitching. So I just wanted to kind of go over that again. So, okay. So today's clue is already up here. So this was last time. We had, I believe this was clue number 6. So we are going to work with clue number 6 and stitch the top on there and the sides. And then it looks sort of like, yay, it looks like this. Okay, did I get it? Yes. So it looks like this. And then we're going to stitch the bottom on here. And when you stitch the bottom on here, can you see that? What I like to do, and that's why I have one of those, I actually just take this clue from last time and I fold it in half and I sort of crease it. Why do I do that? Because there are no seams to butt up against. So when I butt up against this, as it comes together, let me just kind of scooch this together, I line up that line right here. And of course, once your seams are sewn, it should fit. But I line my fold line up to the center of that little stitched line from that original folded little piece. Whoa, a trick. Okay, so that's this that I wanted to show you, and it looks like that, okay? So once you've done that, we're going to do the top stitching, and that top stitching will change it. But before I do the top stitching, I thought I would show you how to do the pressing. And I'm keep looking back and forth to see if you can see it. I should really press it on here because it's a really great way to use a wool mat, especially if it's 100% wool. Then it's really fun for pressing. It just makes things kind of easier to press. So if you can see that, let me push that all the way down. I'm gonna take my iron and I'm gonna press just the center because I want to press away from all these folds that are coming together. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to actually open these seams and press the outside ones open, but the middle ones I just leave them down like this. So there's another easier way also to do this by using one of those. Have you ever seen one of those pressing bars? So you can go on top of that and it makes it easier to open things up. And then I'm not going to press all the way. I'm only going to press until the middle, okay? So then I pull this out and then I press it again and then I press it from the front. Now the other day I got a little message from my friend Debbie and she says she also uses the pressing bar, but after she uses this pressing iron and she just leaves it on there until it's cold, which is really cool because they have things like a clapper that does about the same thing. But I have one of those antique irons too, and I finally found a use for it instead of on my display case downstairs in my living room, so I repurposed it. So I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so when it's nice and flat, then you're going to do the top stitching. So the top stitching looks like this. You see the difference? Isn't that cool how it changes? Let me see if I can pull that up some. That is just always fun for me, how everything changes when you top stitch the curves. Now in the very end, after all that, you're going to take your glue stick and with a little dab of glue in the corners, you are going to glue those little green pieces on there. Okay? And that is the completed clue. That's completed clue number 8. So let me turn this around real quick. Okay. So did you guys have any questions on that before I go over to the sewing machine? You guys good? So far, so good, right? So let me move my thing here, and I'm hoping, turn this around, I can show you the sewing machine. Oh yes, I can actually zoom in. I can't believe it. I'm going to zoom in so you can see right here. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so now I have not matched my thread on purpose. You can see this gold thread. You can see it pretty well on my dark color one. This is the dark color, in case I didn't show it. This is the dark color of my Clue 8 for the May Mystery. But I thought it was fun to show you how I do my top stitching. Okay, so normally what I do is I tie off my thread and I pull it through the sandwich and I do all kinds of things. Like, for example, this. I'm going to show you real quick. I just do one stitch, and this is certainly not where I would put that. But I just want you to see that you can do that. You can pull on that thread, and just like magic, the bobbin thread comes through everything, and then you have total control over what happens. So I wanted to show you that on that dark. I hope you can see it well. Okay, let me get back out of there, because this one is even easier, because you can stitch in right from the side, because wherever you start, there's going to be a seam to cover it. So it's just like piecing. You don't actually have to back stitch, or you don't have to lock your stitches or anything. So that really works well. Okay, so let me talk to you real quick about the different kind of feet you can use. You can use, on the Bernina, for example, they have this 1/4 inch foot that you can see is cut out all the way to the needle. So you can use that one as long as you can see the needle. And I usually have that in, so I just keep on using it. But another really cool one is the number 20 foot on the Bernina, but everybody else's machine, I'm sure, has an open toe foot. And look at how much access you have and what you can see. This one works really great too. So for the top stitching, what I recommend is a foot that lets you see where the needle penetrates the fabric, and most of the time that's going to be your open toe foot. Sometimes some people have a foot that has a little plastic thing in there, and that works too, as long as you can see it. Okay, so now I'm actually still going to hold these threads when I start, or I can start on a little feeder. That's even better. I just love those little feeders. I still trim that off, so you know it's going to get caught maybe. So look, I'm just starting, and I'm trying to move my right hand. I'm just starting right into it, and when I am right here at the intersection where the fold starts, that's when I stop with my needle down. A needle down function is really great. However, if your machine doesn't have one, all you have to do is turn the flywheel down just half a turn and you're there. Okay, just remember to do that, because now the machine kind of holds things for you, kind of like a third hand, so it makes it easy. What's nice about this one is you get to do a larger curve before the smaller one, so that kind of gives you a little warm up. I need a little warm up too. So what I like to do is I kind of press them in place, just finger press them. Sometimes I use the curved part of my scissors and I kind of, you know, scrub over it a little bit just to make sure it's flat. And then I just really slowly go on top of my curve. And if this was in the middle of my quilt, I would just kind of hold that sandwich and not let it go anywhere and take a couple of very small stitches. Realizing that most everybody's machine now has a lock stitch, you may certainly use that. It's just that when I demonstrate it on other people's machines, sometimes I don't know where that is, so I just hold it in place. So I'm going right along the outside edge of this curve, and see, this is the original fold, and now it's folded back and it's kind of flopping to the outside. And so I'm just very slowly, and you can see what I'm doing because that light thread, boy, no mistakes for me. Okay, so now I'm at the end, and I'm going to lift my presser foot and I'm going to rotate all that around. And first I'm going to take this little guy off because it's distracting. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to smooth it out, and yes, you might have to use a little more pull on that. And you could glue that into place too. I showed that in a quilt snack a while back, but I'm just going to do it like this to show you because I don't want it to be too long. Okay, so I'm going to stitch. I'm going to make sure that I'm on that next one and it actually is overlapping the first curve by just a little bit. That's how you get a sharper curve. You're not trying to split the difference. The overlap makes it to where you don't have to be so exact, and at the same time it's beneficiary because it does make a sharper looking point, which makes a deeper looking curve. Okay, so I'm off this, and if I was using a black thread, you wouldn't see that at all, and I'm just kind of going in the ditch. So sometimes when you're doing a table runner, you can quilt and curve at the same time and just connect the curves in the ditch. Okay, so I'm going up here and I'm going down again, and as I'm getting onto the next little piece, that's when I start smoothing it out. So I kind of have this theory that I'm kind of focusing in on what needs to be done, and then I worry about the rest. I don't worry about what goes on over here when I'm stitching there. So I'm just going to take a couple of stitches and then regroup, and if something looks wrinkled, you are allowed to lift that presser foot and do a little quick inspection. Not a problem. Okay, so it helps to go slow, so if you have one of those sliders that you could go to the slow. Okay, so actually very seldom do you get to go to another color, or do you use the same thread for the next color. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it the way I would do it if I had black thread in there. So I'm going to turn it around and go to the other side. So everything with one color. So if I had a black thread in here, I would do everything with that color before I switch to another color. Okay, so now I'm at another cross point, so I'm going to close that. Well, pull that back first and then put my needle down again. Okay, so here you see that point, about a 1/4 inch before that point, that's when I'm gonna plan my pivot. And you see this finger, how I'm gonna push it against that presser foot? That's how I pivot. I can even do it one-handed because of that. Okay, so about 1/4 inch before I hit the tip, I'm gonna stop and up with the presser foot, turn it all the way around, Take a breath if you need one. Okay, needle out, turn it, and then I make sure that it lays flat before I put that needle back in. And you are allowed to hand walk that stitch. It's not a problem. Whatever works for you. And again, I'm putting my finger right there to help me pivot. And see how it wants to bind up a little bit? I'm just going to lift the presser foot, put it back down, and keep on stitching. Sometimes that's all you need to do. I'm trying to go slow. I actually have more trouble going slow than fast, believe it or not. So, okay, so down the other side. Okay, right here to the intersection, lift it up, pull it over, presser foot down. Okay, stitch along the outside of the original folded piece. Okay, and lift it up. Okay, so, and my last one. Stop, pivot, turn this, and up with the needle and down again. Take a couple stitches. You see how this is all wrinkled? I'm going to fix that right now. You only can pull it back as far as it wants to go without wrinkles. And then kind of go to the other side. So what happens when you fall off? Okay, let me fall off. Oh my goodness. I just fell off on purpose, but it's okay. So now you don't have to take everything out. What I'm doing is maybe about a ½ inch, and I'm just going to go right over it again. And whatever was on the side that fell off, I'm going to take those stitches out later. Okay? So I'm going to just run it right through one of those little feeders. So see how this is where I fell off? And I'm just going to go in with my seam ripper, and after everything is done, I'm just going to, you know, get those little stitches out, these little ones here. Okay, so you can kind of work on that. All right, so pretty cool, huh? So why are we doing that now? Well, you see how small those are, and these are best done before we actually sew them into the quilt, and all the seams are covered. I mean, all the seams are over top of all the folded pieces. All the folded pieces are enclosed by seams, I wanted to say, and you can easily get in and out of that, so there's no reason to do a little pre-curving on that before we sew it together in your quilt. So let me turn this back around. Okay, so let me, here we go. What stitch length? Okay, I just use a regular stitch length, so let me see what it's set at. A 2.5 in my machine. So I use the 2.5 that is a preset in my machine, and I don't change it. So you don't want to have a basting stitch. You know, you don't want to have stitches like when you do paper piecing, you have those really small stitches. You don't want to do that either, because things don't move. And if things are layered and folded and peeled back, they need to be moving along. You don't want to have stitches that are too small. So if you're nervous about doing it, you might want to just use one of those peel back curves and make yourself a simple block, you know, and just do it on one of those before you get on those actual blocks that you made, and just do a little practice. So yeah, well, I'm glad that I could answer some questions. So I only ever see 2 comments at a time. So if you had asked me a question before that I didn't answer, I encourage you to put it back up there. If you do a background stitch, yes. When I change, anytime I change threads, especially, well, on this particular piece, I could come in on the edge and I could come out on the edge. I don't need to do anything. But if I change threads and I start in here, then I need to pull the thread through like I showed in the very beginning and lock my stitches, go to the other side and lock my stitches again. So, whoops, and there goes my piece down on the floor. Any other questions that you guys have that I could answer? Okay, well, if there are no other questions, then I will see you on Friday for the big reveal of how everything goes together. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see some of your thoughts. The ironing part, yeah. You know, when you have, let me, real quick about the ironing. When you have pieces that are layered, those pieces you do not want to bend unless you absolutely have to. And the only reason you would have to if they come together from two sides. If there's one piece on one side of the seam that is layered, and you know you have all these layers, and on the other side there is not, you always press to the seam that has the fewer layers, if that makes sense. I'm sure that's how it works. That's when I sign off, I think of 10 other things I could have told you. So that's the reverse. So, but anyway, we're going to have a big reveal. And what I thought I would do after that is try to see how to work one of those rooms in the group. Maybe we can share what we have been doing and show our quilts. And I can't wait to hear what kind of settings that you guys think. And maybe you can post some of them, what you think, how it goes together. And then I will show you how some of my stuff goes together. So the big reveal is the next May Mystery Clue, and that is on Friday. So you all have a great day, a great week, and I will see you then. Bye.